everybody who has said that, hey, look, Aaron Rodgers is the guy who is at fault, or Mike McCarthy is the guy who's at fault, and Ted Thompson and everything. Aaron Rodgers bears some blame. Whatever you think of Aaron Rodgers bears some blame because the team was simply functioning in a dysfunctional manner. Story after story in Tyler Dunn's story, even if you threw out 3 or 4 of them, there's enough smoke there for you to think that, hey, look, Aaron Rodgers deserves some of the blame for since October 1, 2015, Aaron Rodgers' record as a starting quarterback for the Packers, 27, 26, and 1. That's not all Ted Thompson. It's not all Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers has to take some blame in this.
And, Peter, we talked last hour about whether and to what extent there was a grudge held by Aaron Rodgers over the fact that Mike McCarthy was with the 49ers and the 49ers didn't draft Aaron Rodgers in 2005. And did that poison the relationship from the get-go? And then you pointed out there was still that basic lack of respect for McCarthy's abilities. And one of the things that Tyler Dunn focuses on is Aaron Rodgers' style. That he's not a guy who wants to engage in that direct conflict, that he's more passive-aggressive. And this goes back to the stuff that I was saying in November of 2016 that prompted Rodgers to eventually call me out and say, don't waste your time reading that crap. And there were 2 things he said. One, he said on the sideline during games, there isn't enough energy. Well, who's responsible for putting energy on the sidelines of a football team? It would be the football coach. And 2, Rodgers said that there isn't a healthy fear among the players that if you fail to do your job, you're going to lose your job. Well, who's the person in any football organization primarily responsible for instilling that fear in players? It's the coach. And all I did was point out it looks like Aaron Rodgers is engaged in a passive-aggressive battle with Mike McCarthy. And you know what? It was. He did. And that's how he handled it. And instead of having a man-to-man conversation with the head coach and resolving their issues and moving forward and realizing that both of their legacies are tied to working together and winning games and pursuing championships, that they're either in it together or they're all going to fail, he opted not to solve the problem. And there are plenty of people responsible in Green Bay, all the way up to Mark Murphy, for letting it fester as long as it did. But think of how many championships this organization would have if they had everyone on the same page, working in the right direction to be the best team they could be. And the one overarching takeaway from all of this is there was so much dysfunction in Green Bay over most of the last decade. They just couldn't. They couldn't even get back to the Super Bowl, and they're lucky they made it to the playoffs 8 straight years.
You know, there's one thing that bothers me when we talk about think of how many Super Bowls they would have won and things like that. The thing that bothers me about that is that, for the most part, if the Packers had gotten to multiple Super Bowls, I mean, if they had gotten to a few of them, more than likely they would have had to beat New England to win the Super Bowl. There is this assumption that Aaron Rodgers, pick a number out of the sky, should have won 4 Super Bowls by now, or 3, or some number more than 1. And I get it. I get it. I don't want to sound like Joe Biden here. I get it. But I get what you're saying. The problem with that is that there are 31 other teams. The Packers don't exist in a vacuum. It's easy to say, oh my God, they should have won 4 Super Bowls. But let's be realistic about that. You've got to beat the best coach of this era and the best quarterback of this era and maybe of all time. What is that, easy? And so that's one of the things that sort of gets my goat about all these discussions. But, you know, right now, in the aftermath of this, the Packers have to take a very hard look at where they are as an organization, and Aaron Rodgers has to take a hard look at him. If he doesn't do it, you know, he's missing the boat on this, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Peter, look, I get what you're saying, that there's no guarantee you're going to win the Super Bowl if you get there, but 2011, they were 15-1. The table was set for home field advantage at Lambeau Field, and they got thumped by the Giants, who beat the Patriots that year in the Super Bowl. And in 2014, they're in Seattle in command of the game, and they can't string together the situational football necessary to win the game, starting with, was it Morgan Burnett, who inexplicably took a knee after intercepting a pass when he could have scored another touchdown, right, and made the margin even bigger than it was. So it's a little I'm a firm believer that football is so inherently complex when it comes down to 11 guys trying to do what they're supposed to do with 11 other guys doing the exact opposite. You've got to be buttoned up at every level, and you've got to have everybody clicking and working together. So in those moments where games are won or lost, the thing that's going to happen that's going to cause you to win is more likely to occur. And contrast that with the New England Patriots. Even though they have issues from time to time, everybody does their job. Everybody does what they're supposed to do, and they consistently get the most out of the talent they have. And even if it's one more Super Bowl, two more, three more, whatever, there is a clear sense that this Packers team did not get everything it could have gotten out of the presence of one of the great quarterbacks of all time, whether that's Mike McCarthy's blame, Ted Thompson's blame, Aaron Rodgers' blame, Mark Murphy's blame, or a little bit on all of them. That's the reality of this Packers organization that we've seen over the last 10 years.
I agree with you, Mike. I guess I would agree with you conditionally, but I would stop at the line that says, you know, they should have won multiple Super Bowls. I mean, if you get to multiple Super Bowls, obviously you have a better chance to win them. But both years that you speak of, they would have had to beat the Patriots. Just because the Giants beat the Patriots, it doesn't mean the Packers would have beaten them. And I'd like to see a Bill Belichick coach defense go against a Mike McCarthy coached offense. We've seen that movie before, and it's gone pretty well for New England. Not every time, but it's gone pretty well for New England. But the one last point to make about this, you know, as you look ahead with the Packers, so what can they learn from this, and how can they be better going forward? And I think the number one thing after reading this story is this whole thing about the quote, freezing out of receivers, end quote. That stuff, if it's true, has to be absolutely, totally, unequivocally nipped in the bud. And if the head coach and the franchise star quarterback have to go at this head to head, and whether it's public, private, whatever, that's got to end now. That cannot happen. You know, to bypass a receiver because he ran the right route. And again, I'm going by this story. I don't know. This is not my story, so I can't say absolutely categorically. I'd swear that it's true. I don't know. But there's some evidence in this story that at least the receivers believed that that was true. Going forward right now, immediately, that has to get nipped in the bud.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.